I walked up to my parents' front door that Christmas, bags of carefully chosen gifts in hand, buzzing with festive excitement. What met me was a chilling rejection, a cruel accusation, and a betrayal that would unravel my entire family. Honestly, I was actually looking forward to Christmas that year. For once, I wasn't rushing around, scrambling to get everything done at the last minute. I'd bought gifts for my parents, my brother Jacob, his wife Kelly, and their children before the first week of December even ended. I'd even picked up a few extra presents, just in case some unexpected guests showed up. I had this really strong, inexplicable feeling that this year was going to be good, successful. So imagine my shock, my absolute gut-punching disbelief, when my mom opened the door, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "We don't want you here this year." I was standing there, a wrapped gift bag in each hand, my smile faltering, then freezing. At first, I thought it was some kind of really strange joke. I actually started to chuckle, a nervous, disbelieving sound. But then Jacob's voice cut in from behind her, sharp and venomous. "This is no place for losers. You're really starting to wear on all of us." I just stood there, staring at her, unable to process. My dad was in the background, darting his eyes nervously everywhere but at me. My mother, despite looking a little uneasy, didn't back down. And Jacob? He was just utterly arrogant, a smug smirk playing on his lips. A storm of emotions swirled inside me, humiliation that burned my cheeks, a cold, simmering rage, and a profound, disorienting perplexity. But somehow, I managed to keep my composure. "Fine," I said, a slight nod of my head. "If that's truly how you feel." Then, I just turned and walked back to my car. Something shifted inside me as I sat in the driveway, staring at the bags of gifts on the passenger seat. No place for losers. Tired of me. Where on earth had this come from? My mind immediately went to Jacob, but I couldn't pinpoint why. Over the years, I had been nothing but generous to him and his family. I'd paid for his kids' summer camp, bought their school supplies, even covered his mortgage when he was truly up against it. And now, suddenly, I was uninvited to Christmas. It made no sense. I couldn't just leave without answers. I decided not to go home just yet. I left the gifts in the car and headed back to the front door. It seemed they hadn't expected me to return. My parents were still standing there, whispering in low voices. Jacob, meanwhile, was pretending nothing had happened, casually scrolling through his phone on the couch. I didn't even knock. "What's going on?" I asked, walking in. "Why am I not welcome at Christmas? What exactly did I do?" Jacob, without even looking up from his phone, flashed a smirk. "You really don't get it, do you? You've been slacking off lately. The kids have barely gotten anything from you this year." I just stared at him, stunned. "What are you talking about? I've spent hundreds on presents for your kids. They have more gifts in my car than anyone else here." He finally turned to face me, his eyes hard. "Last year, you did more. This year, it's like you don't care. Honestly, it's embarrassing for us." I looked to my parents, desperately hoping for some intervention, some defense, or at least a warning to Jacob about how inappropriate he was being. Instead, my mother offered an awkward smile and said, "But you just bought a new car. You found money for that." For a moment, I didn't even know how to react. My voice was steady, despite the tremor in my hands. "The car is on credit. And even if it wasn't, how does buying a car suddenly make me responsible for Jacob's kids? They're not my responsibility." Jacob leaned back on the couch, as if he just delivered the ultimate truth. "You're the one who makes the most money. We're a family. Families help each other. You've always done that." I glanced at Kelly, who was sitting quietly in the corner. Her face was flushed, and she was looking down at her hands, completely silent, as if she wished to disappear. "So that's your reasoning?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "Because I've been generous in the past, I'm now obligated to do so forever? And if I don't, I'm a loser." Jacob just shrugged. "If the shoe fits." For me, that was it. The absolute final straw. I shook my head, taking a step back. I turned to my parents. "You know what? You're right. I don't belong here." Then, looking directly at Jacob, I said, "Enjoy your Christmas. And good luck with those presents. Because this loser is done financing your life." Without waiting for a response, I walked out. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, driving silently home. My mind was a whirlwind. Was I the villain here? For years, I had gone above and beyond for my family, always helping Jacob when he needed it, making sure his children never suffered because of his own financial struggles. And now, for not doing enough, I was a loser and unwelcome at Christmas. I sat in my driveway for a long time after I got home, staring at nothing. The bag of gifts still in the van made my stomach clench. I had spent weeks picking out the perfect items, thinking about what my parents would appreciate, what the kids would love. And for what? So I could be told I didn't belong. As I thought about it more, it became crystal clear. This wasn't just about Christmas or gifts. I had been too blind, or perhaps too willing, to see that this dynamic had been building for years. Jacob had always relied on me. He and Kelly had struggled financially from the start of their marriage. He had trouble holding down a consistent job, and Kelly's part-time work barely covered their basic needs. I had volunteered to help once, when they were facing eviction, assuming it would just be for a short while. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. Later, when their second child was born, I helped with childcare costs. A little while became years. Jacob always called me first when he was having a bad day. To be honest, I always said yes because I cared about his kids, not because I felt obligated. I didn't want my brother and his family to suffer, to go without. In retrospect, I saw that I had created this dynamic. Jacob relied on me too easily, and because of me, somewhere along the line, thankfulness had morphed into entitlement. Being shut out of my own family's Christmas tonight, all because I didn't do enough, was the final, stinging proof. I was done. When I woke up the next morning, I had a new clarity. No more helping Jacob. No more endless presents to compensate for his inefficiency. If he wanted his children to have things, he could figure out how to provide them himself. This decision wasn't easy. I knew I wasn't just cutting off financial support. I was jeopardizing my relationship with him, his kids, and potentially even my parents. But I couldn't continue to be treated more like an ATM than a brother and a son. They didn't contact me, and I didn't contact them. Perhaps they'd finally gotten the message, I thought. But I should have known Jacob wouldn't take it so lightly. New Year's Eve passed in complete silence. No texts, no phone calls, nothing. My parents, Jacob, even Kelly, they all kept their distance. For the first time in years, I was completely alone over the holidays. It was an odd sensation, even though I didn't really expect them to reach out. When midnight came and went, and my phone stayed silent, I'll admit I considered calling. But every time I did, Jacob's sneer and his words, "No place for losers," echoed in my mind. I had been the one keeping things together for years, and they had the gall to treat me as if I were disposable. If distance was what they wanted, I would give it to them. By the middle of January, I started to notice a shift. Kelly had always been a quiet person, someone who shied away from confrontation. But then, one evening, she unexpectedly texted me. It was short and to the point. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I don't agree with what happened. Jacob won't hear it from me, but I thought you should know. I sat there, looking at my phone for a long time, unsure how to respond. On one hand, it was comforting that someone in the family recognized the truth of things. On the other, Kelly's apology felt like too little, too late, especially since she hadn't spoken up that Christmas evening. Finally, I replied, "I appreciate it, Kelly, but this isn't something I can just move on from." I didn't mind that she didn't try to continue the conversation. Then came a surprise visit. In early February, Jacob unexpectedly showed up at my house. I was in the middle of a work meeting when I heard the knock on the door. I ignored it at first. I wasn't expecting anyone. But the knocking continued, insistent and loud. When I finally opened the door, there he was, looking more unkempt and irritated than I had ever seen him. Before I could stop him, he pushed his way inside. "We need to talk," he demanded. I folded my arms. "What's this about?" He was direct and concise. "You need to stop acting like this and start helping out again." I laughed, not because I found it amusing, but because I couldn't believe he actually meant it. "Helping out? You mean pay for your life? I told you I'm done with that." He scowled at me. "You're the one with the money. Do you know how hard it's been for us since you decided to act like this? The kids barely have what they need. Kelly's trying to keep it together, but we can't do it without your help." What I was hearing was utterly unbelievable. Are you even listening to yourself right now? You're a grown man, Jacob. You have a wife and children. If you need more money, go out and earn it. It's not my job to solve your problems. He retorted. You've always helped before. Why are you being so selfish now? Selfish, I repeated, my voice rising. You want to talk about being selfish? Let's talk about how you lied to our parents about me, turned them against me, and then banned me from Christmas because I didn't spend enough on your kids. And now you're here, asking for more? You got some nerve, Jacob. I raised a hand, cutting him off before he could say anything further. We're done here. I'm not giving you another dime. And I don't want to hear from you again until you figure out how to act like an adult. He stood there, glaring at me for a while, before storming out. I walked away, my heart pounding, convinced that this was it. Jacob would stew. My parents would waffle, but eventually, they'd realize I wasn't backing down. Oh, how wrong I was. By the way, if you're still with me through this unbelievable journey, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. I assumed that once Jacob stormed out, he'd grumble to my parents, but he'd soon realize that I wasn't going to give in. I was mistaken. 2 days later, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. I wouldn't have answered normally, but something compelled me to. Hello, is this Michael? A man's voice said. Yeah, who's this? This is Mark Dawson. I'm a lawyer. I represent a client who has recently expressed concern about certain financial matters involving your family. Do you have a moment to discuss them? My blood ran cold. An attorney? What financial issues? In an unduly courteous tone, he stated, I can't go into detail over the phone, but it involves financial contributions you've made to your brother Jacob and his family, specifically your use of those contributions. Would you be willing to come to my office for a discussion? I was at a complete loss for words. 1,000 possibilities flashed through my mind, none of them good. Had Jacob borrowed money under my name? Was he up to no good with my information? Or was this just a last-ditch effort, a scare tactic to pressure me into handing him money once more? Who's your client? I finally managed to ask. There was a moment of silence. I'm afraid I can't disclose that right now, but I assure you, this is not a lawsuit against you. It's more of an investigation. Against my better judgment, I consented to a meeting. My curiosity had completely overtaken me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just Jacob being Jacob. The following day, I had no idea what to expect as I entered Mark Dawson's office. But as soon as I sat down, he dropped a bombshell. He pushed a packet across the desk toward me. Kelly is the client I'm representing. I blinked, genuinely stunned. Kelly? Why would she need a lawyer? Mark folded his hands, studying me intently. She thinks Jacob's been using the money you've given him over the years inappropriately. She has reason to believe he's been hiding money from her and from you. I felt sick to my stomach. Hiding money? What do you mean? He opened the folder, revealing copies of bank statements, receipts, and what appeared to be screenshots of text messages. Based on what she found, she suspects that Jacob has been taking her financial contributions and funneling them into a separate account. He may have been using the money for gambling and other personal expenses instead of supporting his family. I gazed incredulously at the paperwork. You're saying all those times I helped him with bills, with his kids' school stuff, that money never went to them? Mark gave a serious nod. It seems that way. Kelly discovered this recently and came to me because she didn't know what to do. She didn't want to involve you at first, but given the circumstances, she thought you should know. What I was hearing was unbelievable. All along, Jacob had been deceiving me, spending money I believed would benefit his family on his own unspecified expenses. I wasn't sure if I should feel deceived, angry, or just utterly foolish for not recognizing it sooner. My voice was strained as I questioned, "Does Kelly have proof?" "Take a look for yourself," Mark nodded, pushing the folder closer to me. The proof. I looked over the papers. There were withdrawals from Jacob's account, significant amounts moving to a different account in his name, and transfers from my account to his, which corresponded with the times I had assisted him with emergencies. I observed transactions from that account, including visits to pricey dining establishments, internet gambling sites, and even a few hotel stays. Unbelievable, I mumbled, shaking my head. And Kelly knew about this? She only recently discovered the second account, Mark clarified. She had suspicions for a while, but she didn't have access to his banking information until she stumbled across some bank statements he'd left out. She didn't have proof. That's when she contacted me. I sat back, trying to absorb everything. Does she want me to do anything? Press charges or something? Mark gave a headshake. Not at this point. She's more focused on protecting herself and the children. But she thought you should know, in case Jacob tries to manipulate you further. I laughed, a resentful, hollow sound. Well, he already tried. He showed up at my house a few days ago, demanding that I start helping again. Mark looked at me grimly. That goes along with what Kelly told me. It seems Jacob is feeling the pressure now that your financial support has stopped. He may be in even deeper trouble than Kelly knows. As I gazed at the folder, my thoughts were racing. A part of me wanted to go straight to Jacob's house and confront him, but I also knew that would only make him feel good because he had managed to irritate me. What's Kelly up to instead? I asked. Mark paused before responding. She's considering her options. She wants to make sure she and the kids are safe, financially and otherwise. If Jacob's behavior escalates, she may file for separation or take other legal action. I was more affected by hearing this than I had anticipated. Kelly had always given off the impression of being a gentle, devoted person who would always be there for Jacob. I could tell how horrible things had gone if even she was eager to leave. With a mix of feelings, angry at Jacob, sad for Kelly and the children, and guilty for not seeing sooner how far this had gone, I thanked Mark for his time and walked out of the office. Above all, though, I experienced an odd sense of relaxation. This was the first time in years that I wasn't bearing Jacob's burden, and now that I was aware of the truth, I would never again allow him to control me. I couldn't stop thinking about all I had just discovered after leaving the lawyer's office. The gambling, the hidden money, and Kelly subtly plotting her next move. I was in the center of my family's drama, which felt similar to a soap opera. I stayed away for the next few days. I didn't give my parents a call, and I didn't get in touch with Jacob either. However, it seems that he didn't like the quiet, because one evening, as I was ready to have supper, his name appeared on my phone. I thought about leaving it on voicemail, but I felt compelled to answer it. "What do you want, Jacob?" He wasted no time at all. "We need to talk," he said in a strained, almost desperate voice. "You said something to Kelly, didn't you?" I arched an eyebrow. "What are you talking about?" "Don't act foolish," he yelled. "She's been acting weird since Christmas, and now she's bringing up lawyers and separation. I know you've been putting ideas in her head." I couldn't contain my laughter. You think I'm the problem? You're the one who lied to her, hid money, and gambled it away. If she's tired of your crap, that's on you, not me. After a pause, Jacob eventually spoke the words. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think I do, I responded, my rage boiling up. Kelly told me everything. The secret account, the gambling, the money you've been wasting while I've been breaking my back trying to help you. You're a joke, Jacob. I interrupted him before he could finish his shout, saying, here's the thing. You've used me for the last time. I'm done helping you. I'm done covering for you. If Kelly leaves you, that's on you. And if you try to drag me into this mess again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what you've been up to. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but it felt good to finally say what I'd been holding in for years. The backlash was quick. Kelly called me the following day. Has Jacob given you a call? She asked with caution. Yes, I replied. He wasn't content. Has something taken place? I confronted him about the gambling and the hidden account, she said after hesitating. He acknowledged some of it, but he is still making an effort to downplay it. Are you all right? I inquired, despite not hearing it. I'm fine, she answered, her voice laced with exhaustion. But she was sick of defending him. The children are worthy of better. I knew things were terrible between them, but hearing her say that felt like the beginning of the end, and it impacted me harder than I thought it would. Whatever you decide to do, you have my support, I replied. Thank you, she said softly, and I apologize for everything. The way we treated you over Christmas wasn't fair. I ought to have spoken up sooner. We spoke for a while, and when we hung up, I felt a weird sense of closure. Although Jacob had ruined our relationship, Kelly and the children weren't my enemies, and I wouldn't be angry with her if she had the courage to confront him. Nevertheless, I couldn't get rid of the feeling that Jacob wasn't finished causing trouble. Kelly sent me a brief text message a few weeks later, consisting of only 3 words. We're going today. She told me she was moving to another state with the kids while Jacob was out of town on a business trip, which I figured was just another excuse for gambling, and that she had packed up their belongings, rented a moving van, and left without telling him, at least not until she had everything sorted out legally. I called her right away. I just couldn't stay any longer, she stated gently. I can't keep pretending this is normal. What about everything? Even the rent? Sincerely interested in how she was doing, I inquired. I was hoping you could help me with that, she said after a pause. Just for a little while, as much as I hate to ask. Say no more, I said. I'll take care of it. So yes, I did end up helping her and the kids, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was finally doing the right thing and not being used. When Jacob returned home to find the house deserted, he naturally went completely mad and called me to vent about how I had ruined his life and turned Kelly against him. After letting him vent for a while, I said, perhaps this wouldn't have occurred if you had spent more time as a husband and father and less time gaming. I hung up after saying, but hey, good luck with that. The children are adjusting to their new school. Kelly has secured a stable career, and she is at last beginning to feel in charge of her life again. I've heard that Jacob continues to blame everyone but himself, but in all honesty, it's no longer my problem. Then, if you can call it that, you have your happy ending. What would you have done in my shoes, after years of being used, and then facing such a brutal betrayal? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to hear what you think.